Ciao! When I went to bed last night, I was planning an asparagus risotto here for today, and I was all set until earlier when Julie came to see me and she said, look, I picked some fresh spinach from the garden. She asked me what I was planning for dinner and I said asparagus risotto. And in Julie's language she said, why don't you just throw them in? So there it is. Actually, I'm going to be throwing them in, and actually I'm quite looking forward to that because both asparagus and spinach, I think they're quite elegant and I think they'll complement each other very nicely. So I'm going to give it a shot. Generally the asparagus we buy, they're quite thick, but these are quite thin and I don't need to peel them. So what I'll do, I'll just bend them over, and where they break, I'll keep these for stock and I'll cook these later. Just like this, bend it until it naturally breaks. This will be cooked for stock and I'll cook this for the risotto. As always, the recipe will be listed in the description, but for your interest, these are 2 bags, 125 grams each, so 250 grams altogether. Here's a saucepan and I'll add the stalks from the asparagus. These are fresh carrots which I've just dug from Julie's garden, so I'll remove the bottom and the top. You can use either 1 medium carrot or 2 small ones, and I'll add them to the asparagus. Peeling a medium-sized white onion, and I'll chop it into 4 pieces. In it goes with the rest. And my last ingredient for my stock is a stick of celery. I'll break this one in half, otherwise it won't fit, and I'll put it in. While I'm at it, I will add some pepper, a pinch of salt, and I'm now covering everything with some cold water. I will be adding 1.5 litre. Back to my asparagus, I will line them up and I'll chop the head off, which is approximately 3 centimeters there from the top. These are the most tender and also tastier part of the asparagus, and I will cook them separately, and I will add them at the end also to garnish. So I'll put this on one side and I'm chopping now the remaining parts into little circles. I was set to use a medium red onion, here it is, but then I found some shallot in my vegetable tray, so I decided to use those instead. But you can use either red onion or shallots, entirely up to you. Shallots will be slightly sweeter, less aggressive, but also in my case I used to use them up. But regardless if you're using a shallot or a red onion or a white onion if you like, make sure that you chop them very finely. Saucepan is on the hob and it's boiling. I'll place the lid on, I'll turn it down and I'll leave it to simmer for a good 20 minutes until my stock is ready. Some olive oil in a saucepan. I add my 2 shallots. I've placed them on the hob and I'll leave them to sizzle for a good couple of minutes. I am reserving 1/3 of the asparagus which I chopped in little circles, and I'll pick up the rest and add it to the shallots, and I'll cook them for a good 3 to 4 minutes. I will want to whisk these, but they are too hot, and I'm transferring them into a jug first, including any oil. I'm now adding a little bit more olive oil. My vegetable stock is cooking nicely, but in the meantime I'm going to be pinching a nice little ladle. I've left them to cool down for 3 minutes and I can blend them now. And that's it, done. My little cream of asparagus is ready, and I'll put it on one side for later when I make the rice. And I'm ready to move on to the rice next. Same pan where I cook the shallots and the rings of my asparagus. No need to mess anything else up. I add a little olive oil, followed by a couple of 100 grams of arborio risotto rice. And I'm now roasting the rice with the olive oil. I'll mix it together for a good couple of minutes until the rice has totally absorbed the oil. In the meantime, I'm chopping the spinach in small pieces, and by the way, you do not have to add spinach. Clearly I'm adding them because I've got them. You can just do the recipe straight with asparagus. And the rice is ready and is nice and roasted. Firstly, I'll add a little salt. And if you can see me through the steam, I'm now adding 3 ladles of broth. And I'll start cooking the rice, and this will take about 10 minutes, temperature on a medium setting, number 5 out of 9 in my case. As the water level reduces, if you look, it's nearly all gone, I'll top it up with more broth, 1 to 2 ladles, depending how much it's gone down by. And I will continue just like this for a little while. I'm near the halfway point and my rice has been cooking now for nearly 5 minutes. So time to add my spinach and the remainder of my asparagus, not the end bits, they will have been required at the end. And I'll mix everything together so that they cook with the rice. Of course, the addition of the spinach is a new territory, so we will see what happens, but should it all go wrong, I can blame Julie. A pleasant and very unintended consequence is the colour, actually. I did not realise at the time, but the spinach have released quite a bit of water, and look, the lovely green colour that is underneath. I'm very pleased with it actually. But do not forget to keep topping it up with stock. And make sure that you keep it on a low temperature, and the temptation might be to up the temperature and do it quicker. It will cook, of course it will cook, but it will not be the same. You want to cook it nice, long and slow, so that the rice absorbs all of the flavors gently rather than rush it. So be patient, cook it long and slow, and you will have a lovely risotto in your hands. The rice is almost al dente, and I can now add the tip of my asparagus. They will not require a long time to cook. And I'll go and mix them in very gently, try not to break them as they are quite delicate. And I will add another couple of ladles of my lovely stock. After a couple of minutes I'll add the majority of my cream, but I'll leave some for the end. And I'll mix it together, and that is when the color will change to a really creamy and green asparagus risotto. And before I remove it from the hob, I will add a generous knob of butter. And I'll make sure that it's properly blended with the risotto. And it's nearly ready. Parmesan cheese, a little drizzle of olive oil, and a little bit more pepper. Whenever I cook dishes like this, including pasta, I always add the parmesan like this at the end, as well as retaining more of the flavor. It won't get stuck to your pan. Remember the little asparagus cream I reserved for the end? I'm not drizzling on the very top to garnish my dish. And I'll finish the dish by sprinkling a little parsley, which is always a magical herb when it comes to dishes like this. Oh God, magical is the right word actually. It's delicious. The elegant taste of the asparagus clearly is prominent, but the spinach has given more of an earthy all-round taste, and it's a lovely combination. And of course the butter and the Parmesan cheese complement everything together wonderfully. It's delicious. I'm very pleased. Thank you, Julie, for the spinach. Thank you for watching. Ciao ciao, and hopefully if you make it you enjoy. Arrivederci. Bye.